and fortunately the government has taken strong actions and implemented good legislation, also enforcing it. And as a company, we also decided that we take this seriously, and we have terminated outsourcing of labor-intensive activities, and also reviewed our supply base in order to make sure that everything is fully documented. Also by the end of 2015, we have conducted a strategy review, including many people in our company, which resulted early 2016 into a pretty concise strategy, which we call our Ambition 2020. Speaking a bit more about our frozen business, as I said, 3 factories. One is in Klong Toi, close to the port. This is where we originally produced our Silago, and we are still doing this. The second company is in Samut Sakhon. This company is mostly focusing on shrimp processing. And our third factory is in Surat Thani, where we produce squid and also shrimp. Klong Toi plant is our oldest factory, 4,000 tons of capacity. Silago products, mostly fresh, mostly plain frozen fillets and breaded products. We have a strong position in the Japanese market since we are operating there for more than 40 years. We produce under our own brands, and we estimate our market share to be well in excess of 50%. It's a stable business. Tempura business is not growing much. I think in general in Japan you see the fish consumption slightly going down. On the other hand, Japanese food is getting more and more popular in other areas of the world, so that offsets the Japanese market. Altogether, we consider this to be a nice niche market and a stable market for us. In Samut Sakhon, our factory is able to produce 24,000 tons of shrimp. This is mostly relatively commoditized products, peeled, head-on, cooked shrimp. But since a few years, we are more and more looking into ways to add more value to these products, breaded products, assembled products with other ingredients, and also ready-to-eat or ready-to-cook meals. This company works in close cooperation with our other businesses, our feed business in particular. The definition of quality these days is changing. It is changing from only taste and appearance into how the product is produced. And consumers want to have sustainable food. They want to have food that is produced in a safe and a good manner, and that's why we onboard a so-called 4-star program, which means total control over the whole supply chain, from baby shrimp to processing, to farming and feed. In Surat Thani, we can produce 18,000 tons per year of product. Main product there is squid, which is caught in the seas south of Thailand. It's a particular type of squid. It's a short and thick squid, and most of our customers are in Europe who demand this particular product. Again, a good business. We have a well-established position, a significant market share in Italy mostly, and we are able to deal with volatility here. The catch is usually up and down, but we can keep, let's say, strategic stock in order to supply on a continuous basis. And also because we have brands, we are able to pass on price increases better than in other products. So a good market for us, growing and a good profitable product. Another product we produce there is shrimp, and we are focusing increasingly on what we call sushi ebi, which is raw shrimp that is exported mostly to Japan. This is a complicated product. Firstly, you need to have your factory in a super clean condition, because this product has never been cooked and eaten raw. And secondly, the shrimp need to be supplied alive at the factory, which makes logistics not easy. You need to have good relations and good agreements with the local farmers in order to make sure that you get a steady supply. Now, we do that for quite some time, and we are good at it, and it's a business we would like to increase. Few pictures of our products. You see on the right hand side very red shrimp. This sometimes is a particular requirement from customers, and since we operate a feed factory, we can also control the pigmentation of the feed and therefore supply the right products to the farms, and we know also that we will get the right product back into our factory. On the left-hand side, you see Silago. It's a kind of whiting, and particularly important is the shape of the fillet. Japanese like to have that in a very consistent way, and this is a particular art. On the right-hand side, you see the squid that we are producing and exporting to Italy mostly. These are our brands. Sakura, ASS, TCC are brands for Silago. Our main brand for our squid products is Asian Surat. Tuna business. In 2006, 2007, we started operating our cannery, originally only focusing on tuna. Our capacity is 45,000 tons of tuna, and most of our products are rather traditional products in cans, tuna in oil, tuna in brine. However, we are increasingly moving into different types of products. We are working on ready-to-eat meals, tuna and rice products, which we export to Australia. We also innovate on packaging, particularly in pouches, which we sell to the big tuna sandwich companies. Our company is relatively new in Thailand, which means our facilities are quite up to date, and this is an advantage in our business compared to our competitors. Here you see a couple of products. On the left-hand side, mostly the traditional tuna steaks, tuna flakes. On the right-hand side, more composite products. We produce for most brands in the world, and increasingly focus on Subway, 7-Eleven, which we produce pouched products for. Our pet food business, we originally started this business as a byproduct of our tuna canning operation. Rather simple products. Our total capacity is 15,000 tons of product. However, since 3 years, we are repositioning ourselves, and we are more focusing on the premium segment of the market. And our customer base is changing from, let's say, the trading companies to branded companies, brand owners in the top end of the segment. These companies usually are very good in marketing and distribution, but they have no own wet pet food factory. So we position ourselves as a co-developer, and we work very closely together with their product development teams. We try to minimize the number of salespeople, but instead let our R&D people talk with their product development people directly. Time to market is important for them. In the pet food world, many companies like to renew their assortment every 6 months. So we want to support our customers as much as possible. And this works well if you focus on fewer customers but larger customers, and minimize your business with let's say commodity small traders. These are a couple of pictures of our pet food. You may notice it looks like human food, and this is actually also the trend currently in pet food. They call humanization of food, and also more natural food. You even have the what they call the free food, gluten-free food and soya-free food, etc. So pet food is moving rapidly into sophisticated food. And there are two types. There's supplementary food, which is given as a kind of snack, and there's complete food, which is supposed to include all nutritional requirements for the cat and the dog. We are more and more doing in this complete food because we think we are good at it. It is more difficult. You need to make sure that you have good nutritional products. It is strongly regulated, and this is an area where we want to be good at. It's a growing segment, and we are increasingly active in that part. Here are a couple of new trends. On the left-hand side, you see small portions which look more like desserts. On the right-hand side is a so-called sachet, which is put on the finger, and then the dog or cat can eat it. It's a bonding experience between cat and owner. Okay. We produce for brands, upscale brands. We don't produce for the big commodity players. And these customers are mainly in America, North America, in Japan, and in Europe, the UK. And we have different formats, the usual can, but increasingly we produce in pouches and in plastic cups. I believe that this is also the trend in the market, and as a matter of fact, we are currently expanding our production capacity, especially for cup products. Our aquaculture feed business, we have two kinds of products. We have sinking pellets, which are pressed pellets, and those are used in shrimp farming. And we have floating pellets, which are extruded, a little bit more complicated, and they are used in fish farming because they float. In total capacity is around 85,000 ton, and our concept is rather simple but effective. We want to produce a good quality product for a competitive price, which means you have to be very good at your operations. You have to be good in your purchasing, and especially in the formulation of the products. You need to be super efficient. So far we did this well. We are growing this business, especially in shrimp. We are gaining market share at the moment. So this strategy works. Having said that, we also are increasingly improving our technical support to farmers. We operate laboratories, even mobile laboratories, where we check water quality for our farmers. And in Surat, we also operate a research farm where we test new formulations and also test new ways of farming. In Thailand, the EMS disease is still prevalent. It's not gone, but farmers are increasingly better managing this disease by better biosecurity of the farms. So in general, better farm management. We think there are still ways to improve, and we think this is an important development because not only Thailand is hit by this disease, also the surrounding countries, Vietnam, China, Indonesia, in India, although they call it a different name, but it is the same disease. And we think that shrimp will continue to be a difficult product to farm. Demand is still there, and this is a good opportunity for the Thai farming industry to step into the export market again and regain some of the market share. So we are focused on this. We believe in shrimp farming, and also in our longer term strategy, shrimp continues to play an important role. These are the brands we sell under. More than 90% of our sales is in Thailand. We do export some of our products, but the main focus remains Thailand. Our distribution business, this is a bit of a side business to us, since we have our procurement organization and we purchase mostly seafood abroad and import that. We extend that service and we buy products and we distribute it to the retail in Thailand, like Macro and other restaurant chains as well. It's a bit of an opportunistic business, so we focus. Before we had quite some focus on volume. Right now we look at profitability of the trade, and that will continue to be the case. Longer term, we like to expand this business, especially the distribution part. The last few miles are important. And if we can add more products to our distribution system, we can quite efficiently increase our sales and profitability. There is a logic between our activities. Starting from left, as a tuna processor, we have byproducts which we convert into pet food, but also into fish feed. And fish feed is an important ingredient for our aquaculture feed products. As an aquaculture feed producer, we supply to farmers, and especially from shrimp farmers, we buy the end product. So we have a good relationship and we understand what's going on in the farming industry. As a shrimp and fish processor, we have byproducts which we again convert into fish meal, which is being used in our products for aquaculture. As I said, sustainability is an important part of our business. It reflects. It is being reflected in all our products and services. On human development, we have a big focus. I mentioned we reduced all our external contractors. Also in labor, in manual labor, we adopt good labor practices. We make sure that people are paid, that people are working legally, that accommodation and work circumstances are okay. We were also one of the first companies that signed up for the anti-corruption group here on the listed companies, and we think that's a good thing. It doesn't always make life easy, but it is a principle that we want to stick to. Looking into the financials, looking back in 2016, on the top left side, you see the last 8 quarters. Two things you may notice. Firstly, the first 2 quarters in our year are more or less slow, and the last 2 quarters are increased activity. So there is seasonality, and The reason for the seasonality is that most animals grow quicker in the second half of the year. So on the supply side, this is bigger than in the first half. Also on the demand side, especially for our exports to America and to a certain extent China, December and January are big consumption months. So we fill the supply chain in Q2, in Q3 and Q4. In 2016, we achieved sales revenues of 9.2 billion baht. And after a relatively slow first half of the year, we had an excellent Q4. Reason for the slow first half year was because we had first of all issues with shrimp supply and shrimp prices. And also in our pet food business, we were in the midst of restructuring our customer base. I mentioned we focus on the bigger customers and we reduced our business with small customers. Now, reducing business is easy. That's what we did the first half year, but increasing business takes sometimes a bit more time. And the effect was visible in Q4 when we had a big increase in our, particularly in our pet food business. Our gross profit for the year was 8.4%. This was down from 9.6% in the previous year. But I have to make a note that in 2015 we had a significant foreign exchange gain in our business. The dollar strengthened in that year. If you would correct for exchange rate gains, then our gross profit in 2015 was around 8.2%, and our gross profit in 2016 would be 8.5%. So, all in all, operationally, we improved slightly our gross profitability in 2016. Our net profit in 2015 was 155 million baht, mostly realized in Q4, as I mentioned. Compared to 2015, relatively stable, but I'm happy that particularly our gross profit maintained its size and even increased slightly. So. And this is in the core of our strategy. We want to grow our business, but we want to grow our business in a profitable way. Looking at our balance sheet, we have around 3 billion baht in debt. In 2014, this was mostly financed by short-term facilities. We have adopted the policy to finance around 50% of our debt in long-term facilities. And in 2015, we started doing that. We issued a bond of 750 million baht, which we, by the way, subsequently in 2016 redeemed partially, because at that point we could cheaper finance ourselves with long-term loans. Right now we are at the point of refinancing again and increasing our our long-term debt to a level of around 50%. Our gross profitability, as I mentioned. This is a bit history in this sheet. It goes back to Q1 2012. And you see the growing business up until end of 2012. Then EMS hit our business, and you see a declining sales revenues with also margins under pressure. And this returned again in 2015. As from the second half of that year, we have resumed our growth in all of our activities. and that continued to be the case in Q1 2017, where we achieved a record sales revenues and a record gross profitability. Again, 2017 was a good start of the year. Our net profit was 106 million baht versus 11 million baht the year before. Main drivers for this was a much higher activity in pet food, increased shrimp feed business, and very good performance in both our tuna and our shrimp business as well. Shrimp and tuna are a bit more volatile in our company, but in this quarter we managed to pass on prices to our customers and maintained relatively good margins. So everything was in a positive development in Q1, and as a result, our profitability was 12.2% in gross profit, which was on the top end side of our longer term strategy. A bit more detail on our sales composition. Our frozen business actually declined slightly in volume. This was mostly the result of slow sales in the Silago in Q1 and relatively high sales the year before. Our squid business was more or less stable, and our shrimp business was somewhat disappointing in terms of volume because farming conditions in Q1 were not really super. Lots of rain in the south, and as a result, the total production of shrimp in Q1 was more or less flat. We expect this will increase in Q2, looking at what is happening in the farms right now. Nevertheless, our sales revenues in frozen increased with 14%, and this was a result of higher prices, mainly for squid, but also for shrimp. Our tuna business declined 19% in volume, 10% in sales revenues. And this is the result of a different strategy that we adopted. We are not going for volumes in this business, and we don't need to, because our pet food business is in the same factory and we can easily shift capacity from tuna to pet food. Instead, we focus more on profitability. We have a policy where we take no positions, not in raw materials, not in long-term sales contracts. We try to buy what we can sell on a profitable basis. This worked out very well in Q1. Even though declined volumes, our profitability in tuna was significantly better than the year before. Pet food business, we increased our volume 64% year on year and 90% in value. The increase in volume was a result of our focus on bigger customers. We increased our market share with our main customers, and also our customers were actually growing significantly. So we got two effects, and this contributed to the volume growth. So the value growth is not a result of higher prices or increasing prices of products. The value growth is a result of more high-end products and less cheap byproducts. So in our product shift in product mix in pet food, we try to move up to the premium products as well, and they averagely sell at higher prices. Aquaculture, major increase in volume, 60%, despite a rather flat shrimp feed market, because like I mentioned, weather prevented a big increase. We increased our market share, especially in shrimp, and that resulted in a 60% increase in volume, 44% in sales revenues. This is a result of more cheaper raw materials, basically. So our margins move pretty much up and down with the prices. Our distribution business declined in volume, but we focus on value, and our sales revenues increased, and so did our profitability in that segment. Our product mix development, I compare Q1 product mix on the right side with our 2014 product mix. And this illustrates our strategic direction. Pet food business, 4% 3 years ago, moves now to 24% of our total revenues. Our tuna business is relatively smaller, from 29% to 13%. And our feed business remains the same, but with bigger sales. The value of our total feed is increasing as well. Our frozen business remains an important part. Again, the squid business is growing, but even more so, our shrimp business is recovering again. Our March end balance sheet showed further improvement. Our net debt decreased to around 3 billion baht. 2 years ago, this was 3.3 billion baht. And as a result, also our debt-to-equity ratios improved from 2.2 in 2014 to 1.8. Our net debt-to-equity ratio improved to 1.4 in the quarter end. Our total debt is around 3 billion baht, despite the fact that we have grown our sales revenues significantly from 7.8 billion baht to 9.2 billion baht last year, and also with record sales revenues in Q1. And this is mainly due to lower inventory days and particularly lower accounts receivable days. So we try to manage that and to keep our working capital down. However, going forward, I expect that if we realize our sales ambitions, we will also increase our working capital, and I see our debt position also increasing gradually. As again, you see the short-term loan is 64% of our total debt. This is mainly due to the current portion of long-term debt, which became current in this quarter. In the next few months, we will refinance and aim for a 50-50 split between long-term and short-term debt. Very briefly, going through the different business segments. In Q1, our shrimp sales and our squid sales was both 40%. 10% of our shrimp is more in value-added products. We want to expand that, of course. 11% of our sales was in Silago, in the tempura product. Altogether, 14% increased sales revenues, and as I mentioned, margins were such that this contributed significantly to the good result in Q1. Tuna, most of our products are canned tuna, which I would say are rather commodity products. Increasingly, we focus on pouched products, and this constituted 7% of our revenues, and 3% of our revenues was in value-added products, and those are the segments we want to grow. All in all, I don't expect this year that we will increase or grow our tuna business much compared to last year. As a result, we will continue to focus on margin rather than volume. since we believe that this is bottom line a better business for us. Pet food, almost doubled compared to the Q1 last year. And also increasing from Q4, which is traditionally a high volume quarter. Our pet food is still 50% in cans, around 40% in plastic cups, and around 10% in pouches. I foresee that we are growing quicker in pouches and in cups, although also our canned products will continue to grow. Aquaculture feed, 60% increase compared to last year. Our product mix is around half in sinking feed for shrimp and half in floating feed for fish. Within our fish feed, we are pretty much up to capacity, our floating feed, which is in a way good because we can now optimize the products and the customer base in our floating feed, which means focusing more on high profit products and eliminating low profit products, which is a cheap way to increase profitability because it does not require any further investments. Our distribution business increased sales. We sold a lot of high value seafood products, and also margins were relatively okay. So Q1 was a good quarter for the distribution business. A little bit about our 2020 strategy. In this slide, I show our 2015 sales composition and what is our target for 2020. You see pretty much our frozen business still is around 40% of our business, but the amount of shrimp will be higher than today. I expect a somewhat slower growth of our squid business. Squid is also depending on wild catch, so supply has a certain limit. Shrimp is farmed and can be grown sustainably. Our tuna business, we expect this will go down further relatively from 15% to 10% of our sales. And we also expect a further increase in our pet food business and relatively stable development in our feed business. Altogether, we have the ambition to double our sales compared to 2015 from 7.9 billion baht to 14.5 billion baht. Much of this growth comes from our frozen business from 3.6 to 6 billion baht. And the main driver is shrimp, and within the shrimp category we would like to grow our value-added products particularly. Tuna business more or less flat at 1.5 billion baht. Our pet food business we expect to grow significantly from 1.6 to 4 billion baht. Our feed business on the back of the recovering shrimp farming from 1.1 to 2 billion baht. And our distribution business from 0.4 to around 1 billion baht. And most likely we would like to acquire some distribution companies in Thailand. Our consolidated gross profit from 8.2% to 10 to 12%. This is our target. If you look at the composition of our business, I earmark what I call a bit more volatile business and more stable business. And today or last year, around 40%, 35-40% of our sales I would earmark as more volatile business, commodity shrimp business, tuna business, and part of our pet food is also actually relatively commoditized, especially the cheaper byproduct business. It is our plan to reduce that part of our business from around 40 to 25% of our total sales revenues. And the way to do it is, yes, to grow in shrimp, but to value add our products, to relatively reduce our tuna business, and in our pet food business to continue our focus on the premium segments. This is a chart of our share price development since January 2012. The red line is the actual share price. The green line is our intrinsic value per share, which is around 6 baht. And the blue line are the representing the volume. In 2016, we have decided to step up our efforts on investors' relations. We have adopted a policy to get more transparency of our business. The objective was basically to increase the trading of our shares. So I'm pleased to see that trading indeed has contributed. I'm not sure if this is because of our investors' relations or because of the performance in Q1, but anyway, the result is quite okay. I'd like to conclude with some outlook on 2017. Our target is 10.5 billion baht sales revenues with a consolidated gross profit of 10%. Particular growth in our feed business and in our pet food business and in our frozen business. Based on our Q1 results, we have a confident outlook that we are still on good track to achieve this target. As a matter of fact, Q1 exceeded our expectations a bit, so definitely a good start. And I hope we can continue that trend and achieve our goals. Looking at Q2, I cannot say the results there because the month hasn't finished yet. But looking at the results to date, I think we are continue to be on track to achieve our targets. And I can tell you that the profit is probably significantly better than 1 year ago. On the other hand, that was not so difficult because it was a low number. And herewith I conclude my presentation. In case of any questions, please fire away.
As you are going to refinance your debt, how much interest expense that you can save from your current interest rate?
Right. Yeah, we have quite a lot of facilities at the moment with all different interest rates. Our current rate is on average a little bit over 4%. Our idea is probably we will move into long-term loans as opposed to other instruments. And I expect that we can lower our average interest rate with another 0.15, 0.22%. We have part of our loans on a floating rate, which we intend to maintain for the time being. The amount of debt that we want to restructure is depending a little bit on the conditions that we can achieve. We intend to do one portion now in July, and probably by the end of the year we will do another round of restructuring. It's not only interest rate I'm looking at. I'm looking also at other conditions, and particularly in collateral that is requested by banks. Personally, I like to keep my assets for myself, so we can choose what we want to do with it. So this is also an important part of the negotiations with banks.
For the second question, as you expect your pet food business sales of about 1.9 billion. However, in the first quarter, you deliver about 600, and you are going to launch the new, dog food, right, in the third quarter. So, is this target quite low?
Yes, I expect we can achieve this target and maybe even do better than that. Yeah. Yeah. No, indeed, I expect we will do more than the 1.9 billion baht in pet food based on the developments year to date. Yeah.
Okay. One more question. Could you please explain why Thailand or ASEAN is what is the competitiveness of premium pet food for the company or in Thailand?
Yes, I can explain that. The vast majority of pet food is based on animal byproducts, which is ground and then as a kind of mousse put in a cup. This is the brown mousse that you can see in the stores. If you look into the supermarket, you see those kind of products usually at the lower shelves, which also indicates it's the cheaper priced products. The products that we are producing are much more complicated than that. They consist many more ingredients, usually real meat or reformed real meat, which is shredded into small pieces. There are toppings of vegetables or other products. And altogether, this is a pretty labor-intensive production way. We are also quite flexible in packaging and packaging formats, making packs with different flavors of food in the same pack, which is not so easy because you need to have a lot of products available in order to do that. These kind of products can never be produced in high labor cost countries. As a matter of fact, we produce in our factory these products with around 2,500 people. And when I visit a factory in Germany, they produce 3 times as many products with 180 people. But those products are completely different from what we do, and they will never be able to produce what we do. Thailand has a very well developed canning industry, so the whole infrastructure, cans, sterilization technology, logistics, labor, it's all in place, and that's why canning or pet food, especially this premium pet food, is an excellent opportunity for Thailand. Yeah. The question here is what are the utilization rates of each product for the company, and I guess the question is how much do you need to invest in order to grow further. In our seafood processing, our frozen processing, we don't require many investments. Bear in mind that 5 years ago, before the EMS crisis, we actually produced more than we do today, and those facilities are still in place. This is also a relatively low mechanized activity, so the main constraint is labor, and that's what we need to grow. In our feed business, for shrimp feed, we still have enough capacity. We can grow significantly. We produced in total 70,000 tons in 2012. This year, I expect we will be at around 55,000 tons. So there's still plenty of way to grow. We may invest there in order to improve quality and efficiency, but that would not per definition be for growth. It is a choice that we can make in order to improve the profitability of the company. In our pet food business, on our canned products, we have sufficient capacity because the company was originally laid out for much higher volumes in tuna canning. Where we do need to invest is in production lines for cups and pouches. We are now doing this for cups. I expect we will do another round for cups early next year and pouches as well. Now we still have a quite good infrastructure when it comes to steam generation and other utilities. So investments will be related to specific equipment, we will have to do that. Warehousing is a bit of an issue because with bigger volumes we will need expansion of our warehouse as well. And this is not a cheap investment either. For your reference, last year we invested around 130 million baht, while we depreciated 190 million baht. So our investment level was still well below our depreciation rate. Of this 130 million baht, we invested 40 million in ERP, which I hope we don't have to do every year. So 90 million was for replacement and expansion. This may be increasing a little bit in the years coming forward.
Thank you. For your ambition of 2020, I noticed that you have commodity pet food in a smaller portion than in 2016, as well as in commodity shrimp. I would like to know that what's the reason behind that you decrease that portion down. And for the basic question, I want the knowledge of what's the difference between the commodity pet food and pet food. And you have commodity shrimp. Won't you have a shrimp with no commodity? And what about tuna? Why don't you have a commodity tuna versus tuna? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I must admit, I have been thinking about how to call this. And I couldn't come up with a better word than commodity. My intention is to say we have relatively stable business where we can generate stable margins, either because prices of raw materials are not fluctuating a lot, or we are in a position to adjust our selling prices with our cost prices and maintain a stable margin. And then we have business where we are less able to do so, where we depend on market circumstances, and then you are less in control. That was my intention with this sheet. So that's what I call commodity and versus non-commodity. In pet food, to answer your question, originally as a byproduct of tuna, you have this brownish meat, and this is not very fit for consumption by humans. And that's why this kind of product is put in a can and sold as pet food originally. Now this is a pretty basic product. Everybody can do that. And that's why I call this more of a commodity. We don't have any particular advantage. It is a very competitive market. And that's where we want to reduce that part of our pet food business and focus on the products I showed earlier with many different ingredients and toppings. That part will go down, partly because, or mostly because our other business is increasing. So percentage-wise, I expect that will go down. In shrimp, what I mean with commodity is simple cooked products with head off or head on, which is a product that is manufactured in many places on the world and where you deal with market prices. Non-commodity shrimp is more the type of product I explained on the sushi ebi, which is okay, in a way also a commodity, but it is much more complicated. Logistics are difficult. And what you see is that we have a much more stable customer base. This is not a business where you offer and the trader is buying. This is a business where you sell to a stable customer base, and usually there's also better understanding with customers in case of price decreases and increases. So this kind of business is what I call non-commodity shrimp business.
I also noticed that you intend to expand for the pet food quite a lot, comparison to 2016. So, what do you think of expanding in pet food rather than in human food? Won't you consider of doing a premium product? Or but whatever we have right now on hand, and do it for more retail or direct to the consumer rather than to wholesale. What do you think about it?
Yes, our focus right now is brand owners, companies that operate in the what they call super premium segment of the market. This is it's a bit difficult to estimate, but I estimate between 5 and 10% of the total pet food market is in this particular category. Pet food market is close to $100 billion market worldwide, so 5 to 10% is a significant amount of money for us. That market segment is growing quickly, and you should think of growth rates of 20-30% per year. And this is exactly the segment we focus on. We have a pretty loyal customer base, which is also laid down in long-term supply agreements. So as long as our customers are growing, we are also growing. Of course, we want to, and this is part of the plan, we want to extend this customer base. Ideally, between 5 and 10 of these big customers would create a good portfolio of customers for us. And this is pretty much the basis for our growth in pet food. The right segment, which is growing, and growing customers. This is our strategy.
the FX, since like baht is strengthening against the US dollar, if the rate is just like this for the rest of the year, how will it affect the performance?
We traditionally used to have a certain view on exchange rates, and we sometimes had positions. As you will have seen in Q1, we had a positive FX effect, and that was a result of a good forward position in dollars mainly. However, going forward, we will increasingly try to hedge and to reduce our exposure in FX. And the reason for that is that it becomes a bit more, particularly in the dollar, with the current government in the US, it is very difficult to predict how the dollar will move. So we have said we will reduce our exposure. Now that's not so easy. Of course, we can hedge our positions on the balance sheet, and that's what we do. But off balance sheet, it becomes a little bit more complicated. And especially, for example, in our pet food business, we have supply contracts with a fixed price for 1 year, denominated in dollars. Not so easy to fully hedge yourself against this without taking risks of big mismatches that can occur. So I expect that we will reduce our position and our exposure to exchange rates by hedging. Also, we try to build in a bit more flexibility in pricing with our contracts in pet food. In tuna, as I explained, we don't take long sales positions. We operate more on the spot market. So by definition, also our exposure to the exchange rate is less. Our focus is on the business, and you can have all kinds of view on exchange rates, but in the end, if I would be very good at that, then I probably would be sitting on an island somewhere and enjoying life, which I do, by the way, here too. Okay, thank you very much, and don't hesitate in case of further questions to contact us. The right point of contact is Kun Jane. She speaks also much better Thai than I do, I think.